You're not even worth the goodbye. That's what Serafina said before turning her back on me in front of half the student body, her laughter ringing louder than the music playing at the spring gala. People paused mid-dance to look. Someone took a video. I stood there holding a small velvet box in my hand. Inside it, a promise I never got to make. Ledger stood behind her, hands in his pockets, smug smile painted across his face. She walked to him like she never knew me. 3 years of memories thrown away in one cruel sentence. The next morning, I dropped out of the university without warning. I didn't want closure. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to erase the version of me that believed her. I moved across the country with a half-broken laptop, 216s in my account, and one bitter truth carved into my ribs. I would become everything she said I couldn't be. People called me obsessed. Maybe I was, but obsession built my empire. I didn't sleep much. I coded until my eyes blurred. Ate ramen 5 nights a week, worked 2 jobs, failed 3 startups. On the 4th, something cracked. Not in me, around me. The market shifted. My timing was perfect. I got funding, then a team, then headlines. I didn't celebrate. Not until I saw the name Serafina Lane in the attendee list for a panel I was headlining. It's been 4 years. She thinks I disappeared. Maybe I did, but not as a failure. Tonight, she'll sit quietly in the back of a tech seminar. I'll walk on stage, and for the first time she'll realize. The man she left behind now owns the very world she's trying to enter. Serafina always knew how to make silence feel like judgment. She never yelled, never raised her voice. She weaponized poise, delivered pain with elegance. When she ended things with me, it wasn't with a fight. It was with a calculated smile and words that didn't even tremble. I'm choosing ambition, Stetson. And you're not part of that path. She could have said anything. She could have lied. But she didn't. She looked me in the eye, unblinking, and made it clear that love, our love, wasn't big enough to fit into the future she envisioned for herself. And I believed her. That was the worst part. I believed I wasn't enough. Back then, I was nothing remarkable. A second-year student majoring in data science, working nights at a parking garage, living in a room so small I could touch both walls lying flat. But I loved her like she was the only thing I owned. I still remember the way she'd hum when she studied, the way she'd squeeze my hand twice when she was nervous, how her eyes softened every time she said my name like it meant something. Maybe it once did. We had plans, or at least I thought. We did. On her 21st birthday, I saved every dollar from 3 months of night shifts to buy her a necklace. It wasn't even real gold, but I chose it carefully, had it engraved with the words, "Until always." When I gave it to her, she smiled politely, said thank you, and placed it back in the box. She never wore it. I didn't ask why. A week later, she stopped replying to my texts. 2 weeks later, I saw her exiting Ledger's black coupe outside her apartment. They didn't try to hide. She laughed louder than usual, like it was her way of telling me she wasn't sorry, like she wanted me to see. Ledger was everything I wasn't. He came from money, spoke in boardroom terms like equity and valuation, wore watches worth more than my tuition. He never liked me, never tried to. Once, at a campus event, he walked by and clapped me on the shoulder like I was some project Serafina would outgrow. He was right. The breakup wasn't dramatic. It was cold. She met me at the university library, sat across from me with perfect posture, and told me she didn't see a future with someone still figuring things out. Then she thanked me for being steady, for being kind, for not making this harder than it has to be. Steady, kind, replaceable. She left, and I didn't stop her. I didn't cry, didn't plead. I went home, shut off my phone, and didn't speak for 2 days. When I finally opened it again, her contact photo was gone, replaced by a grayed-out circle. I stared at it for 10 minutes before deleting the thread. That night, I dropped out. I didn't leave with bitterness. I left with a quiet ache, a hollow space where belief used to live. I moved out of state without telling anyone, took a bus that reeked of spilled soda and strangers' regrets. I had no job lined up, no place to stay, just a vague instinct that I needed to disappear in order to find whatever version of me might finally be enough. The first year was brutal. I lived in a basement with mold on the ceiling and rats in the walls, worked 12-hour shifts at a data entry firm where no one remembered my name. On Saturday weekends, I studied online courses, machine learning, web development, market behavior. I consumed every scrap of information like my life depended on it, because in some way it did. Serafina never reached out. I didn't expect her to. But every night I imagined her scrolling through her feed, seeing my name somewhere unexpected. Not out of nostalgia, but confusion. Stetson? That Stetson? I wanted that reaction more than I wanted revenge. I didn't want her to hurt. I wanted her to realize what she'd walked away from. One day, I met Azaria. She wasn't like Serafina. She didn't walk into a room expecting it to bow to her. She asked questions and actually listened. She challenged me without belittling me. She believed in things that couldn't be quantified, like loyalty and trust and redemption. We were just friends at first. She was the first person I ever told the full story to. The first person who didn't look at me with pity when I said I was trying to build something from scratch. She said one sentence that I carried like armor. She left you at your beginning. Don't ever let her think she was the end, too. Years later, the company I started in a cramped coffee shop hit its first $1 million in revenue. A year after that, we crossed 10. I stopped tracking the milestones after that. Not because they stopped mattering, but because I finally understood. None of it was about her anymore. It was about the version of me that refused to disappear just because someone didn't believe in him. Then came the invitation. Dear Mr. Ward, we would be honored to have you speak on the future of decentralized intelligence at the Stanford Technology Summit this March. There was a name on the panel list. Serafina Lane, grad student. Department of Behavioral AI. It was the first time I smiled at the thought of her in years, because she would be in the audience and I would be the one on stage. She didn't notice me at first. Or maybe she did and pretended not to. Serafina sat, in the middle row, legs crossed, glasses on, notepad open, trying too hard to look unimpressed, like she belonged there. Like she wasn't staring at the man she once said wasn't worth a goodbye. I stepped onto the stage, no introduction needed. My name flashed across the screens behind me. Co-founder, CEO, featured in Forbes' Tech-Tide Modern Genius, the auditorium. Went quiet before I even opened my mouth. And she looked up. Her fingers froze on her notepad. Her eyes widened just enough. Her lips parted for half a second before she blinked and looked back down. That was all I needed. I didn't falter. I didn't even pause. I gave the keynote I'd prepared 1,000 times in my head, about failure, about pivots, about how everything worth building starts with rejection. I didn't say her name. I didn't need to. She was woven into every example I gave, every metaphor I built from scratch. And she knew it. The audience stood when I finished, even the professors. Phones flashed. I shook hands. But my eyes kept drifting back to her. She didn't applaud. She just sat there, unmoving, the same way I had the day she let go of my hand and reached for someone else's. After the session, I exited through the back. I wasn't interested in small talk or polite congratulations. I just wanted air. I found it in the side corridor, leaning against the glass, letting the sunlight touch my face like I hadn't felt it in years. You really came back. Her voice hadn't changed, still soft, still dangerous. I didn't turn around. Looks like you stayed. I thought you dropped off the map. No one heard from you. That was the point. She stepped closer. I could hear the hesitation in her heels. You look different. You don't. A pause. She wasn't used to being cut off. You didn't tell anyone, she said, quieter now. About us. What was there to tell? That I broke your heart. I finally looked at her. You didn't break my heart, Serafina. You broke my illusions. There's a difference. Her jaw tensed. You were too comfortable. I needed someone who could grow with me. No. You needed someone who was already done growing so you could attach yourself without risk. She flinched. That part always hit hardest, when someone realizes you've been thinking about what they did long after they forgot doing it. Ledger. It didn't work out, she offered. I smiled without humor. Was that a confession or a warning? It's not like that. It never is, until it is. She stepped closer, and for a moment, I saw the girl I used to love standing there again. The one who touched my face gently after late-night coding sessions. The one who once whispered, "You're my safe place." That girl was long gone. "I'm not here to beg," she said. "Good. Because I don't collect apologies. You hate me." "No. I outgrew you. That's worse, isn't it?" She swallowed. Hard. "You talk like I ruined your life." "You didn't ruin anything. You just miscalculated. You thought I'd stay buried. I thought you'd disappear." "I did." I leaned forward slightly, voice lower. "But not like you hoped." Her face twisted for a fraction of a second before smoothing back into calm. That was her gift. She could lie with grace. But her hands betrayed her, clenched too tight around her folder, her knuckles pale. "She wasn't okay. Is she real?" she asked suddenly. "Who?" "The girl in the back row. The one with the braids and the black notebook. She smiled every time you made a joke." I looked over her shoulder, toward the crowd dispersing beyond the glass. Azaria stood at the exit, speaking with a colleague, waiting without rushing. Always waiting, never chasing. "Yes," I said quietly. "She's very real." Serafina didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "Does she know?" "She knows everything you didn't ask." Serafina let out a hollow laugh. "I should have stayed." "No," I said. "You should have been honest. With yourself." The moment held, stretched too thin, then snapped. "I still think about you sometimes," she whispered. "I know, that's the difference. I don't think about you at all. Until now." Her eyes glassed over, but she blinked the tears away fast. "I was afraid." "I was too, but I used it." She nodded, almost respectfully. "I hope she's worth it." "She is," I said, and I never had to prove it to her. Serafina stepped back. "You're colder now." "No, just finished grieving." She left without another word, and I didn't watch her go. After she walked away, something strange happened. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel angry. I felt hollow, the kind of quiet that creeps in after the noise dies. Serafina's voice still echoed somewhere inside me, the same voice that once told me I was her calm. Now it sounded like background static I couldn't fully shut off. I returned to the hotel with Azaria. She didn't ask what happened. She never pushed. She could read silence like others read facial expressions. That's how I knew I couldn't hide it for long. Later that night, I sat by the window with my laptop open but untouched. Notifications kept pouring in. New investment offers, press requests, interview invitations. I read none of them. I kept staring at the night sky like it owed me an answer. Why didn't it feel like enough? Why did seeing Serafina again make something inside me flicker that I thought had long been burned out? It wasn't love. I didn't want her back. I didn't envy Ledger or what they had or used to have. But there was something deeper than all of that. A resentment I hadn't processed. A weight that still lived under my ribs. I hadn't wanted revenge. But I had needed her to see what she lost. And now that she had, it felt incomplete. Like winning a game no one else knew you were playing. Azaria walked in quietly, barefoot, carrying 2 mugs of tea. She didn't say a word as she handed me one. Just sat beside me and watched the city with me. "I saw her today," I said. "I know. She said she thinks about me." Azaria didn't flinch. "And?" I thought it would feel good hearing that. It didn't. "She's a scar, Stetson, not a wound. You're just touching old skin." I stared into the cup like it could offer more than comfort. "Then why does it still sting?" "Because she was your first truth." And your first lie. That line hit harder than I expected. I didn't reply. We sat in silence again. She asked about you. Azaria looked at me. Her expression didn't change. What did you say? I told her you knew everything she never asked. Azaria let out a quiet breath. Then you said the truth. I took a sip of the tea. It burned my tongue, but I didn't complain. What if part of me still wants to hurt her? I admitted. That part isn't wrong, it's just tired. Let it rest. I placed the cup down and leaned back into the couch. I think I wanted her to apologize. She won't. I know. And even if she did, it wouldn't fix what she broke. I looked at Azaria again. Really looked at her. She had no idea what kind of storm she walked into when she met me. Or maybe she did, and she stayed anyway. She saw a mess and believed it could be more than ruins. She thinks I hate her. Do you? No. I think I pity her. Azaria nodded slowly. That's what scares her the most. A few days passed. I went back to work, back to emails, back to calls with people who now hung on to every word I said like it was gospel. But I wasn't there, not fully. Some part of me was still staring at that auditorium, watching Serafina pretend she wasn't unraveling inside. I'd lived that before, faking strength for the sake of appearances. Knowing the collapse was coming, but hoping no one noticed until after it was too late. Then one morning, a package arrived at my office. No name on the card, just a sentence. Typed in simple font. I was wrong, that's all. I didn't need to guess who it was from. I left it unopened on my desk for 2 days. Azaria eventually noticed it. You going to read it? I already did. Then why is it still here? Because I'm trying to decide if forgiveness is worth offering when it was never asked for the right way. Azaria studied me for a moment. It's not about her anymore, Stetson. It's about you. Let her shadow move. I thought I had. You haven't. Not fully. Not if she can still interrupt your thoughts. She was right. I didn't say it, but she was. That night, I tossed the note in the trash. Then I opened my inbox and started deleting every unread message from that week. I didn't need more congratulations. I didn't want more attention. What I wanted, what I needed, was peace. Something no title, no company, no audience could give me. Only I could give it to myself. So I did the only thing I hadn't done since the day she left. I opened my old notes folder. Inside it were voice memos, business ideas, startup drafts, and one entry titled, "For Her." I opened it. It was a draft email I had never sent, written the day after she left me. It read, I hope one day you realize what you gave up. I hope one day I'm someone you can't look at without wondering who I became without you. But most of all, I hope you find what you were chasing. Because I know now, I was never the one holding you back. You were. I deleted the file, and just like that, she stopped living in the corners of my thoughts. A month passed. I thought that would be the end of it. Serafina's letter, the conference, the unresolved glances, we'd done our quiet war and walked away with our own wounds. But I was wrong. Azaria met me outside my office one morning, her face unreadable, phone in her hand. You've seen this? I took the phone and read the headline. Tech giant Stetson Ward, accused of plagiarizing research. I laughed. It was dry, instinctive. What is this? There's a full write-up, anonymous source, claims you lifted your earliest product. Concepts from a former student collaborator. It didn't take long to guess where this came from. I pulled up the article on my own screen. Buried in the second paragraph was a mention of a source connected to Stanford's AI department. I didn't need confirmation. That department only had one person who knew my earliest ideas, because she used to listen to them across the dinner table. Serafina. There was no proof, no names. Just enough rumor to raise eyebrows in my industry. The damage was subtle but immediate. An investor called to discuss transparency. A podcast appearance was postponed. A deal we had been finalizing went silent. I stared at my screen, at the careful seed she'd planted. She didn't try to ruin me directly. She just gave doubt a place to grow. Azaria paced behind me. You think it's her? It's her. You're sure? I built that pitch deck at a cafe in Nevada with no Wi-Fi and no witnesses. She's the only one who ever heard the ideas before I put them into code. Azaria didn't speak. For a moment. Then, you need to get ahead of it. I won't give her a public fight. That's what she wants. Then what do you want? I didn't answer, because the truth was murky. Revenge? Justice? Or did I just want her to stop, following me like a ghost I didn't invite? That night, I received a message. From Serafina. It wasn't dramatic. Just 4 words. Didn't expect this, did you? I didn't reply. 2 days later, another article dropped, this time with more teeth. It referenced a private source who had documentation of early AI, prototypes, and email timestamps. I felt my hands curl slowly into fists. This wasn't petty anymore. It was sabotage. Serafina wasn't just regretting losing me. She was trying to erase me. Azaria watched me pace the office that night. You need to hit back. No. Why not? Because I'd rather destroy her by becoming untouchable than dirty myself trying to prove I'm clean. Azaria folded her arms. And what if she doesn't stop? She won't, I said. But I know how she thinks. She won't go too far. She wants me bruised, not broken. If I break, there's no one left to envy. Azaria's voice was soft now. And what if she does cross the line? Then I remind her that the boy she betrayed is gone, and the man I am now doesn't forgive twice. She didn't ask what that meant, because she knew. 2 weeks after the second article dropped, I received an invitation. Hand-delivered, cream cardstock, no return address, just an event name, Future Mind Fellowship Private Roundtable, Elite Visionaries. In tech and ethics. I wasn't surprised to see my name on the list. I was surprised to see hers. Serafina Lane. Guest speaker, a panel on algorithmic, bias and emotional AI, the same field she used to tell me I'd never be good enough for. I accepted without a word. Azaria watched me from across the room, arms folded. You know she wants a reaction. She's going to get one, I said. But not the one she expects. The round table was hosted in a private estate just outside of the city, the kind of place where wealth isn't shown. It's whispered. The gates opened slowly as my car approached, and I saw guests arriving, in muted luxury, matte black sedans, no logos, no flash. Inside, the main atrium was draped in velvet lighting. Candles flickered beside minimalist place cards. The room hummed with soft conversation, the kind that always carried more weight beneath the surface. Serafina stood near the back, wearing black silk and fake humility. She laughed gently with a silver-haired investor, then glanced up and saw me. She didn't flinch. She smiled, calculated, controlled. I smiled back. The panel began after dinner. 8 chairs, 8 mics, 8 names etched into the marble table. She spoke first. Her voice was as smooth as always, articulating research terms like they were poetry. She spoke of ethical concerns, responsibility in emerging tech, the importance of protecting creative ownership. The irony wasn't lost on me. Then it was my turn. I leaned into the mic. When people talk about ethics, it's usually after they've violated them, not before. A few chuckles. Serafina kept her smile frozen. People ask if I'm afraid of imitation, I continued. But I say, you can copy code. You can't replicate origin. Only one person bled to build what I built. Silence followed, then polite applause. Breaks were called. People dispersed. I stayed seated. She didn't. Serafina approached, glass of wine in hand, voice low. That was subtle, impressive. Truth usually is. You could have outed me. You didn't. I don't have to. She tilted her head, pretending curiosity. Then why are you here? Because I wanted you to hear this next part from me. Not from the press. Serafina's smile thinned. What are you talking about? I took a step closer, not threatening, just final. Remember the early prototypes you claimed were yours? The time-stamped emails you said you had access to? She nodded once, slow. I created a false file directory 3 years ago, filled it with incomplete code, seeded with intentional errors, and tracked IP metadata. Then I emailed it to myself using your old student email, the one that never deactivated. I figured you might snoop or try to use it someday. Her face didn't move, but her eyes lost their focus. I submitted that same code last week to a private journal under your name, with your credentials, then leaked it anonymously to the Future Mind screening board. She said nothing. You're on a plagiarism watch list. Now, Serafina, not me. That's illegal, she whispered. So is everything you've done. But I have lawyers and receipts. And unlike you, I didn't burn every bridge behind me. You don't get to do this to me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just letting your own hands wrap the rope. She stared at me for a long time, like she was trying to remember who I used to be. The boy who loved her. The boy who stood outside her dorm for 3 hours in the rain just to hand her a notebook full of ideas. The boy who whispered, I believe in you, before every exam. He was gone. She buried him. And now she had to live with the ghost. I thought you were kind, she finally said. I was. She opened her mouth to respond, but Azaria's voice cut through from across the room. Stetson, you ready? I turned. She stood near the exit, calm as always, but this time she held something in her hand, an envelope. I walked over. What's that? I asked. She handed it to me. A letter from the university, their legal department. They want to open an investigation into the plagiarism accusations. They asked if you'd like to provide supporting evidence. Perfect timing, I muttered. Azaria glanced over my shoulder to where Serafina still stood, frozen. Did you want this to hurt her? I shook my head. I just wanted her to stop pretending she didn't start this. She's going to spiral now. She already is. On the ride home, the car was quiet. I stared out the window at the passing lights, thinking about the version of myself who once thought love meant loyalty, even when it wasn't returned. Azaria broke the silence. There's something else. What? She reached out to Ledger. I turned toward her fully now. What? She messaged him, said she wanted to talk about you. Why would she? She's trying to pull him in, to triangulate. She thinks if she can't win the public, she'll win the old alliances. Remind everyone who you used to be. She's desperate. Azaria nodded slowly. That makes her unpredictable. I didn't sleep much that night. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the city below. Somewhere, Serafina was probably staring at her own ceiling, asking herself when it all slipped out of her control. The truth? It never had been hers to begin with. She built everything on perception. But perception can't carry weight forever. Eventually, you need roots. She never grew any. And now, everything was tipping over. The next morning, I woke to 37 emails, 5 calls, and a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. I hit play. It was Serafina. Her voice was shaky. No performance. Left. I don't care about the company, or the panels, or your precious reputation. I just wanted to feel like I wasn't the only one who made a mistake. But you... Her breath hitched. You turned it into a weapon. You always said I broke you, but you were already breaking. I just didn't know how deep the cracks went. Maybe I wasn't enough, but neither are you. You'll always be chasing something, even after you catch it. Click. No goodbye. Just a voice trying to take something on her way out. But she was wrong again. I wasn't chasing anything anymore. I already had everything I needed. I deleted the voicemail and turned off my phone. Then I walked out onto the balcony, breathed in the morning light, and smiled. Serafina may have thought this was a war, but I never wanted to fight her. I just wanted peace. And now that I had it, I wasn't giving it back for anyone. 3 weeks later, the official email came through. Stanford's ethics board had concluded its preliminary investigation. The summary was brief. Serafina Lane had been found in violation of academic integrity policies. Effective immediately, she was suspended from all research roles, her fellowship revoked. A quiet line near the bottom made everything real. Recommended for dismissal. No press release followed, no media coverage broke it. That's the kind of silence that crushes harder than headlines. Her name was simply erased. Not scandalized. Just quietly removed from every space she once begged to dominate, and I didn't lift a finger to push it. I didn't need to. She buried herself. Azaria and I were in New York the day the decision came. We were hosting a private event for the company's next expansion phase. 40 investors, 4 governments, 1 major publication promising a full feature spread. Serafina's name came up only once, on a private investor call. A reporter asked, "Weren't there rumors about this founder's early research being borrowed?" My response was simple, yes, and I'm grateful those rumors surfaced. They gave us an opportunity to shine light on what we actually built. The truth speaks louder than whispers. Always. The reporter smiled. That night, I watched from the rooftop of the hotel as city lights blinked through the haze. Azaria stood beside me, her hand wrapped around mine, fingers laced like we'd done this for decades. She hadn't said, "I love you" yet, neither had I, but we didn't have to. We understood what it meant to build something quietly, together, without needing an audience to validate it. Back home, Serafina went silent. No calls, no messages. No backlash, just absence, until the morning I received the delivery. A thick, padded envelope. No return address again, but this time the handwriting was hers. Inside, there was a letter, handwritten. I unfolded it slowly. Stetson, I lost. Not to you, to myself. I thought I was choosing the better path when I walked away, but the truth is, I was running from fear, from real love, from the risk of growing beside someone instead of standing on someone. You were never the weak one. I built my future on borrowed brilliance and then blamed the cracks on everyone else. I don't expect forgiveness, but I owe you one final truth. You weren't just enough. You were too much for me, and I resented you for it. I saw your success and mistook it for revenge. But it wasn't. It was freedom. And I hope you hold on to it, even if it cost me everything. There was no apology in it, just honesty. And I realized that was more valuable than hearing her beg. I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer, and locked it away. Not to preserve it. Not to revisit it. But to remind myself of how far I'd come, without needing her pain to prove anything. That night, Azaria and I walked the length of our future office site. It was still just concrete and steel, but I could already picture the rooms, the people, the movement. The foundation was everything Serafina never understood. You don't build empires out of ambition. You build them out of purpose. The next morning, a story began circulating online. Not viral, not scandalous, just quiet and damning. Someone had posted screenshots, voice memos, lecture notes that clearly proved Serafina's theft. I didn't post them, but I knew who did. Ledger. He'd been silent until now. But the moment her name stopped opening doors, he stepped away like she was radioactive. And apparently he wanted the world to know he'd never believed her either. I didn't care to gloat. I just watched the ripples. One by one, every institution that once backed her withdrew. She'd taken everything she thought I needed. Love, respect, recognition. And now, she had none of it left. A year passed. The company went public. Azaria and I moved into a home outside the city. No marble, no gold. Just wood floors and floor-to-ceiling windows that let the light in without asking. The day the IPO went through, she brought out a bottle of champagne we'd been saving. I popped it without ceremony. "You've done it," she said softly. "No," I replied. "We did." We toasted. Then we sat on the porch and watched the sky turn pink. That night, I received one final message from a burner account. "Do you ever think of me?" I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my public stream, the one I rarely used. I posted one. Photo, a black and white image of our office walls, lined with handwritten sticky notes from every employee who had helped build the company. No tags. No captions, just one line, built, not borrowed. The comments flooded in, congratulating, admiring, remembering. But the one I stared at came from a verified name I hadn't seen in over a year. Azaria Monet, and we're just getting started. I liked it. Then closed the app and smiled.